Hello and welcome back to this second part of this tutorial. Again, my name is Derek Shaw. One of the things that I would like to do, whilst I have the opportunity to do so, is to revert back to the resources page on my presentation and obtain the bitmessage address, copy it to the clipboard so that I can refer to it later. I shan't close the thing down, but right, so let's go and start py bitmessage. Now I've installed py bitmessage on the root of my home folder. You can choose to install it anywhere that you wish, but this is where I've chosen to install it. So if we now go into py bitmessage, you'll see three folders: Debian, Desktop and Source. I click on Source and I go down to this one which says bitmessage.py. So I'm going to choose to run that, so I'll select Open and then I'll select Run. Now it does take a little time for this application to start. I'm not quite certain as to the reasons for it coming up with the GUI. I guess it's got a lot of work to do. I'm not a developer of the bitmessage system. I do think it would be better from my own personal perspective if the bitmessage GUI would come up more readily, but it's still early days for the bitmessage system, so there is still some ways to go. Beg pardon. It comes from having a little bit of lunch. Right, so we can, if we move over to the top right hand corner of bitmessage, the graphical user interface, we'll see that it is connecting up on a stream number 1, and that the number of connections that it has at the moment is 5, and that it hasn't been started up the 27th of May. It's about now actually, so this is so that gives you a time that the bitmessage system has been up. You got the number of peer-to-peer, person-to-person messages. You got the processed block broadcast message, and you got the number of public processed keys. I don't confess to know it all or understand it, but what I can tell you is that down in the bottom right hand corner we have a yellow light. Now a yellow light in this instance means to say that we are using it in client mode, that we can send and receive messages on this client system. A red would indicate that it has, for whatever reason, failed to connect to the internet, failed to connect to the remaining network and the peer-to-peer network that it utilises. A green indicator light would indicate that it is attached and acting in addition as a client, but in addition as a server as well. So a green light would indicate that it's operating in both server and client mode. Now if we go back to the top and select the blacklist tab, you can see that we have both whitelist and blacklist. We can assign any label and any address, provided that it's a valid address. So if I was to propose to put in the one that I've just put in, for example, and we can see that immediately that is a valid address. Well, if I just change one tiny character on there, we can read that the address typed is not valid. Now, I've no wish to blacklist any address at this moment in time. I have no reason to do so. So we'll skip the blacklist and we'll look at the other options. We've got an address book here. Well, we can again add a label, so we can go Derek at Soslok, for example. And my spelling is atrocious, my apologies. And we can paste in the valid address so that we can use it later on. So we'll do that. Next, we can add subscriptions to broadcast messages. So we can click on add, we can add a label. Once we've received an address that might be on a website, for example, we can assign a label to it, and we can attach the valid address and stick it in there in the same way as we've done with the others. We've got no further entries to add on this, but suffice to say, if you go to bitmessage.org, you too can obtain this address so that any new releases get announced, you hear about it, and you can then proceed to update or upgrade your current version. How do you go about finding the version? Well, you can go up to the help section and about, and it will tell you what version you are running. Now currently I'm running version 0.028. There is a version 3, but there's no visual improvements to the client, so I suppose I could have put it on there, but on this occasion have chosen not to do so. Now, your identities, well, you can have your identities, you can change them, so you can change them for whatever you like. So I can just put Derek. You can use spaces, you can use underscores, you can choose what you like by way of a label, because it's only known to you. Right, so we can stick that in there as a possible label assigned to this one address. Okay. Next, we've got three other boxes to look at, three other tabs, sorry. We've got inbox, where we can receive a bit message, and as you can see, I have received a bit message to say that a version 3 is available, and one of the reasons why I'm running 2.8 to show you that does indeed work. If I wish to send a message, I can choose to send to one specific person, or I can broadcast to a subscribed channel address and do it that way. Any messages that I send from this client are listed here, and the contents in here. So let's choose to send a message. First of all, we need to select a bit message address. Now this is where the labels come important, because as you can see, each one of these is identified as an unused address. It means that it's been propagated. I will talk to you about that a little bit later before signing off, but say for example we choose to use the first bit message label. You'll see that this is the address that it will be known by, this will be the address that it gets sent by. So if we go back to my identities, you'll see that the first part, the prefix, is identified by BM, and the second part, the bit right down at the end, is THLY. So if we look at our send, we got the BM at the beginning, which all bit messages will be identified by, and then you have the THLY, so that is indeed the label assigned to that address. So next thing we want to do is we want to load a to address in here. Now I have previously pasted it, so I could do that, but I have also put it on my address book. So I can go to the address book, I can select that, and I can do send message to this address, in which case it will take me back, or I can choose to copy it and then paste it into this field in exactly the same way as I had shown before. So this is a new test, or a new test. Sorry, this is a new test message. Quite simple, quite straightforward. We can have a look in the settings if you like, but there are nowhere really to set up connections to any server, because quite simply this application doesn't require it. So if I click on the send button now, what we've got is that it is processing, it's doing the proof of work necessary to send this message. Again, it shows you the content of this message, and as you can see, it's taking quite a long time just to send a relatively short message. This message will then change. I have already in advance set up the client server to which this address corresponds to, and although I can't show you that it's received this message, I should at least be able to show you that this message will respond after it has done the necessary work to validate the message. It will do a proof of work, and then it will send the message on, and it will tell you that it is sending it. So there we go, we got message sent, waiting an acknowledgement. It was sent on Monday the 27th of May 2013, and the acknowledgement has just been received. And looking over at my client's PY bitmessage on a second machine which I have running, I can confirm that I have in actual fact received the message, and all without any attachments to any third-party servers or protocols. Everything, one of the beautiful things about this particular system is that it's all built in. Everything necessary you need is already in the application. It's very quick, or reasonably quick rather, and it just goes ahead and does it. It doesn't need to know anything about its environment. It already encrypts the message. Only the person to whom you have received a valid bitmessage address can see it. Anybody else can't. Okay, so going back to your identities, and one of the last things that I'm going to talk about is how to generate a new address. So for example, if this particular address was the result of spam, or there was a person to whom I just did not want to talk to anymore, I could go to the blacklist, I can add them, and I can add the address to which I'm receiving problems from. So say that one, if they had responded to me. Remember, this one was just a send address that I had used, but you would go to your inbox and you would see the message from an individual, or from indeed from a broadcast, and you would be able to block in exactly the same way the bitmessage and just stick it in the blacklist. Going back to the your identities, we can set up new addresses. We can generate use a random number generator to make an address. We can use the most available stream, or we can select our own stream based on a specific address. You can click on spend several minutes of extra computing time to make an address or addresses 1 or 2 characters shorter. This whole process seems somewhat laughable and completely unnecessary, but at the end of the day, this is something down to personal choice and that you can do. Up here you will have an added description on how to use it. So here you can generate as many addresses as you like or as you need. You're encouraged to use all of them or just one of them. You can generate addresses by using either the random generator or the passphrase. The random number option is selected by default, and there are several pros and cons to that. The pros are that you can recreate your address on any computer from memory. You do not need to worry about backing up your keys.dat file as long as you can remember your passphrase. You must remember or write down your passphrase if you expect to be able to recreate your keys. You must remember the address version number and the stream number along with your passphrase. So if you choose 1 or 2, then obviously that's going to affect it. To select the passphrase instead of the random generator option, you just select passphrase, you enter your passphrase twice, and you determine how many iterations of that you want. Okay, so that in essence a very simplified view or review of the bitmessage system. I'd like to thank you for joining me in looking at this rather interesting version of sending messages across the network without the requirement of additional servers. I hope to make use of it in the years to come, and one of the things that I'd previously noted on, if you had seen the presentation beforehand, is that nowhere up here does it say to add attachments. Indeed, you won't find any. So what you'll end up having to do is to put a base 64 encoded message within the message block before you broadcast the message out. However, any attachments you put on this way will take much longer to send out, simply because of the proof of work required on the length of your message. And I think you saw how long it took for the proof of work to complete when I tried to send the previous message, and that was indeed a very short message. Okay, that's the end of this particular tutorial. Again, thank you very much for joining me. My name is Derek Shaw. If you do wish to try out the principles of bitmessage with me, then by all means drop me a line at derek@soslug.org, or you can simply go to soslug.org, leave a comment on the bitmessage article that I have posted, and I'll surely get back to you and address any issues which you might have. Thank you again.